Hey there, I'm back. It's been a while, for one reason or another. Been quite a while actually since I last did a video with me talking on it. I've stuck up a few videos with me sort of just playing some gameplay footage, but I actually thought I'd do a bit of a voice this time, a bit of a chat. It's been quite some time since I've done that. But what sort of brought me back to the microphone? Well, a few things really. I mean, I've been away for some time, and a number of reasons. Number one's been old health issues coming back to haunt me. Nothing new there. And also, like, for the longest period of time, I really didn't have a lot to say. I mean, this channel really is just about games and talking about games. I don't really talk about anything else. Usually because other stuff can be so divisive, you know, and, you know, if you try to talk about real world things, these days everybody gets the sort of panties in a twist about it. You know, you can't say anything without upsetting someone, so you just think, oh, you know what, you know, I started this channel just to talk about games, so that's what I'm going to do, and that is what I'm going to do, you know. So when there's not an awful lot happening in that space that's like huge, or the stuff that I feel is warrants talking about, don't really have much to say. But what sort of brought me back to the microphone was the layoffs that have happened in the industry. Well, they've been ongoing for some time now, but what really sort of brought it back into sharp focus, that, you know, things, I think it's not a unique problem to the games industry, but I think when you're interested in something, and these, you know, the sort of the whole thing with laying people off affects that industry, and you kind of see, not firsthand because I don't work in the industry, but you see it affect people and companies that you follow on social media. You know, you actually live it kind of in real time, and it's like, this affects an industry that I do care about, and an industry that, you know, you want to see do well, because I enjoy playing games. They're my number one favourite pastime, and have been for many years, far too many years now. And he kind of is troubling, because you would think, wow, with all of these layoffs, things must be really bad in the industry. And then you sort of like look at it and you go, well, actually, from the financial side of things, in the case of, I mean, I know it's not, you can never apply a universal truth to everything, because companies shut down, lay people off, cancel projects for a whole load of different reasons. Many of them are financial. You know, if the company's run out of money or is struggling, and, you know, it has investors that it's responsible to, they have to take action. If you're losing money, you have to take action. You know, there is a fiscal responsibility that you have to have. That just goes without saying. That doesn't matter what industry that you're in. You know, you have to be responsible. You also have to be responsible to the staff as well. I've worked for a company that refused to lay people off, and then ended up going bankrupt because of it. And instead of, you know, a handful of people unfortunately losing the jobs, everybody lost the jobs in the end. You know, that's wasn't a clever idea that they had. You know, they just kept ploughing on and going, you know, what they felt they would get through it, and you know, in the end they ran out of money. You know, I mean, fair play to the bosses. They did put their own. They stopped taking a wage and were putting, you know, money in themselves to cover wages and bills and stuff like that. But eventually they had to stop because they were running out of money. You know, and if they had at the time had just trimmed the staff down a bit, they might have been able to at least break even or make a small profit. And that actually, they were trying to get investment, but because they were making a continuous loss, the potential investor decided, nah, I'm not going to do it. Because he just didn't think that the guy, you know, the people who were running the business were fiscally responsible. So I do understand that has to be done from time to time. But when you're making a load of money, when you're making a hell of a lot of profit, you're, you know, in a very, very healthy position. That is the part I don't get. I don't get laying people off when you're in that position. And that was really sort of what sort of blew me back a bit with Microsoft. It's like, dear God, like, it's not, I mean, across the company they said it was approximately 9,000 with potentially more to come in the future. Now obviously, as I said, that's across the entirety of the business, which, you know, includes many different divisions. They're a corporation, but a lot were in the games division, and a lot of them were in the big developers, you know, Rare, Bethesda, you know, Turn 10, who do the Forza Motorsport games. You know, apparently that company, that development team has been pretty much annihilated, which is bizarre because they have Forza Motorsport out there, which they've been supporting with regular updates. In fact, only recently I was playing that and playing the anniversary stuff. I think it was 20 years of Forza, or was it 25? I can't remember now. It was either 20, 25 years. They've only recently been celebrating, you know, like Forza, and it was great because they released certain tracks and cars, like the flagship cars, the cover cars, shall we say, you know, from the cover of the game box, and, you know, sort of like landmark tracks from each of the sort of Forza series, you know, Forza 1 right all the way through to Forza 7. And it was great, you know, just revisiting some of these old circuits that, you know, they look fantastic. You know, the Forza games have always looked really nice, but Forza 7, you know, looks really nice. And I was playing it and enjoying it, and you just thinking, well, you know, at the time I was like, you know, I know Forza Motorsport got a lot of criticism when it released because people felt it was, they sort of changed how you sort of improve the car, that changed. There was a few controversial things like that, but I think the overriding thing is that there wasn't, people didn't feel there was enough content when it came out, and that was kind of the criticism that Forza Motorsport 5 had. But they redressed that balance with Forza 6 and 7. You know, they were pretty big. You know, Forza 5 I think was a rush job to come out when the Series X was released. Not the Series X, sorry, the Xbox One. When that came out, I think they rushed Forza 5 for that one. And I just think, like with Forza Motorsport, I don't know why they released it in the way that they did. But in fairness to Turn 10, since its launch, they've added content, and that content has not cost any money. So you know, they probably were following this whole sort of live service type of philosophy that seems to be the thing these days. I mean, the game I'm playing here, Gran Turismo 7, yeah, it launched with a lot more content than Forza Motorsport, I believe. I can't remember, to be honest with you, it's been that long. But yeah, but you know, they've still been releasing additional content, although theirs tended to be more car based and sort of like race based. Whereas with actually Forza Motorsport, they've been releasing tracks, the actual circuits, as well as cars and what have you. But they're gone. Like turn 10. Thanks for coming. Goodbye. Yeah. So where does that leave? First of all, where does that leave the content for Forza Motorsport? Will there still be additional content coming out for it? Will it just be cars now? Because it takes a while to develop circuits and cars and what have you. You know, it's not a one-man job or even a 10-man job. You know, you have a team of people working on it, and you just think, well, how many people are left? And of the people that are left, is that a sufficient number to keep providing the content that they have been providing going forward? I mean, you would think not. I mean, what did they do? Like, have, like, only a quarter of the staff doing anything in the day? What was the other, like, 3/4 of the staff just sat twiddling the thumbs, or, you know, like playing Fortnite or whatever? I mean, no. I would imagine they were all working on content and on stuff. So, you know, were they working on the next Forza game? You know, quite often teams can be working on titles for a couple of years before anything official is announced. I know that Playground Games, they're doing the next, is it Forza Horizon 6? You know, that's become the main Forza now. I mean, I remember when Forza Horizon come out, it was like, oh yeah, this is just like a spin-off. It was almost like Microsoft's answer to EA's Need for Speed almost, you know. It was a lot more sort of arcadey, less sim-focused, great fun, and they get the lovely looking games. I mean, I really do enjoy playing Forza Horizon 6. I have it on Xbox and I have it on PC, and it is a fantastic looking game, really, and it plays lovely. I enjoy playing it. I've enjoyed all of the Forza games, Horizon and Motorsport. In fact, I think the only one I didn't play was the original Forza on the original Xbox, and I think it was because at that time I was just into Gran Turismo on the PlayStation 2, you know, that sort of, and Formula 1, and it's sort of all my racing time was divided there, and then like playing, you know, your sort of more arcadey races at the time as well, you know, your Burnouts and your Need for Speeds and you know, so on and so forth. So I didn't really feel that I had the time or the sort of, well, you know, if I'm playing this, you know, why would I play that? And then when I got the Xbox 360 and Forza 2 come out, you know, that particular time, I don't know whether the PS3 had come out, but it's certainly like Gran Turismo hadn't come out. That took ages to come out. Gran Turismo 5 took a bloody eternity to come out. They released like this weird little demo Gran Turismo, you know, to sort of whet your appetite, but the actual main Gran Turismo game, that was like years. So I think that was when I got Forza 2 on the 360, because Gran Turismo wasn't out, and that was when I got into Forza, and I absolutely loved it, and I was thinking, actually, do I like this better than I like Gran Turismo? Yeah, and then I've sort of bought and played every single Forza game since then, both Motorsport and Horizon. So when I found out that Turn 10 had been basically gutted as a team, I'm like, oh, great. So does that mean we don't get any more Forza Motorsports? I mean, it wouldn't make sense. If they were planning on making another Forza game, sorry, another Forza Motorsport game, because they obviously are doing Forza Horizon, the next one. Yeah, obviously not. I've completely messed this corner up. Shit. How not to take that corner into Lagos? That's because I was yakking away there and I wasn't looking at the braking point. Yeah, like, obviously there's not going to be another Forza Motorsport for a long, long time. And then you think, well, if they were planning on doing another one in the future, why would you get rid of the team? That doesn't make any sense at all. You don't take apart a team of people that have been working on this stuff for years and bringing a team of strangers. You kind of lose, the games can lose their identity that way, and you know, the people that are familiar with the game and what have you. I mean, okay, I know the last Forza Motorsport did disappoint people because Turn 10 did make some changes, but that's inevitable. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So all I can think of is well, Microsoft mustn't be planning on making another Forza Motorsport game. Oh, okay. Well, like, does, you know, Forza Motorsport 6 and 7 did well as far as I know. They were certainly very well received. I mean, I thought they were both fantastic games, so like, they made a misstep with Forza 5, and that was probably, like I say, it was due to the fact that they were under pressure to get it out for the launch of the Xbox One. They made some changes with Forza Motorsport, the last one that's just come out, and people didn't like it. You give, you know, what do we do now? Not give companies the opportunity to come back and try again? Is that it? I mean, that was never the way. I mean, it's what, like, there've been plenty of other games in history that haven't done well in a series, and because they've made changes and they've gone back and they've changed things, you know, changed things back to how people liked it, and that's gone on to be successful. You know, like, if you remember with Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, they introduced that whole, you know, stat system for your character, you know, where you had to eat and go to the gym and all that kind of stuff. People bloody hated it. And that was it. Like, you know, they got rid of it. Can you imagine, like, if Rockstar had just gone, yeah, let's just, like, disband the entire studio because people didn't like something that was in the game, and, you know, let's not bother. Like, we made a misstep, so let's just call it a day. You wouldn't have had Gran Turismo 4, 5, and wouldn't have the upcoming Gran Turismo 6. Gran Turismo? Grand Theft Auto, I do that all the bloody time. I get them the wrong way round. I will say Grand Theft Auto when I mean Gran Turismo, and Gran Turismo when I mean Grand Theft Auto. Because I'm old and thick. So, yeah. I mean, it just seems like a really extreme thing to have done insofar as Turn 10 are concerned. And then you've got like Romero Games, which unfortunately appears that they've shut down. I followed John Romero on Twitter, and I also follow him on Discord and follow his Twitch. I've been watching him when he was putting together the Sigil add-ons for Doom, and it was fascinating, you know, just watching the creative process by somebody who played a major role in the creation of my all-time favourite game, Doom. And I was really looking forward to what he was going to come out with, you know. I mean, there's a guy, and everyone loves to slam on Daikatana, you know. It's not that bad a game. It's patchy in terms of, like, I always think with Daikatana is the beginning of the game is the worst part, but it really does pick up. It does pick up after that, and these days with the community patches that have fixed quite a lot of the issues that the game had, yeah, you know, it's not a bad game. It's not a classic, but it's not a bad game. point is that, you know, the stuff he did for Bethesda, for the Doom games, so there's Sigil and Sigil 2. I believe he was working on a new WOD for Doom 2, a whole new sort of mega WOD for it, which would have been, you know, I don't know whether that's gone. I don't know whether that was what his team was working on that is now finished, or whether they were working on another game. But yeah, gone. So I don't know whether John was sort of personally working on that mega WOD for Doom 2 and whether that'll carry on. I mean, he wasn't making money directly from the Sigil stuff. Where he was making money was he was selling it like a special edition, physical media copies of it with extra stuff. That was how he was making money for doing that. But the actual WOD itself was free. And then Bethesda picked it up and incorporated it into the latest sort of re-release of Doom that they did online, where they sort of redid Doom and Doom 2. Point is, that's gone. Well, not Sigil 1 and 2, you can still get them, but whatever he was working on is gone. And the game he was working on for Microsoft, gone. And in their case, you know, I think it was Brenda and John, Brenda's John's wife, they came out and they said, look, we'd hit all of the milestones. They were shocked. They didn't see it coming. They hit all the milestones. They'd done everything. Sort of, they'd done everything right. Still shit can. You know? It's, what do you do? You know, if like some people have said, oh yeah, some of these games were in a bit of development hell with some of these studios. They've been in development for years, and you know, they've not really progressed. All right, you know, that can happen. Fine, fair enough. You know, whatever. You know, if it's a case of like the game is still a couple of years away, or the game is going to cost as much to, you know, the game is going to cost as much to finish as it has been to what they've already paid so far. So it's like double the cost, double the expense. You know, fair enough. I can see where that would be a problem. I can see where that would be an issue. Fine, fair enough. I still think, you know, better management, better management of things would probably, you know, resolve that problem. But still, at the end of the day, I can at least understand that, because, you know, if they don't, and then on top of that, if they then don't feel that they're going to get, you know, the money back from it, I can see why they would pull the plug on it. I still, like I say, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can at least understand it. In the case of John Romero, in the case that I just don't, I don't understand that at all. I think that it sucks, to be honest with you. And it's just another case, isn't it? It's another example of a development studio that's gone. And that's just not on. You know, Microsoft have been making a lot of money. They're not strapped for cash. They're not in the crap financially, like a lot of studios have been. No, they're doing all right, and it just seems quite bloody-minded to me. It feels like they've cut jobs because they want to make more money, not because they haven't made any money. And I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's healthy at all. I kind of you know, I don't know whether I've covered this or not in what I've said, or whether, you know, when you sometimes you're thinking things you want to say in a video, and then, because I don't script anything, I just do this off the top of my head while I'm sat here playing a game. It's just like my random thoughts that fire out there. And then it's like, sometimes I think, did I think that, or have I said it already? But yeah, I'm losing it. I'm getting old. Well, I've gotten old. I'm not getting old. I'm just losing it. Yeah, you see, now I've completely forgotten what the hell I was saying. Yeah, it's like, when companies do this, I always think to myself, like, the PR, the negative sort of press that comes with laying off a load of people when you've made money. You think, isn't it worth trying to sort of like stick with things? You know, like, let's not make people redundant. But I think, like, bad oversight, if you're allowing games to get into a development funk, you know, where you just think to yourself, well, this game needs a hell of a lot more development time and it's never going to make the money back. Well, first of all, why did you greenlight the damn thing in the first place? And second of all, why would you put it in a way that was like, okay, yeah, we're never gonna make money. We're never gonna make money from this, and, you know, the game's gonna require an absolute stack load more development time. Why do you allow that situation to happen? Why aren't you got oversight? Why aren't you looking at this and going, you know what, we need to get control of our, yeah, of our whole game development management. You know, we need to sort of like have targets, have milestones that you've got to hit unless this thing goes into review, to allow things to just sort of go down the road like they have been doing. That just speaks of like bad management to me. Like, you've got to have project managers that are on the ball and that, you know, are going to be like, no, you've got to get this game out. We've got to get it out the door. You know, many years ago I worked for an IT company and they were developing software, and one of the things that one of the guys that was developing the software there talked about was a thing called creature feep. Creature feep? He didn't talk about creature feep, he talked about feature creep. I'm telling you, I'm lost my fucking shit completely. I'm just take me out and shoot me, you know, like, take me to the glue factory. I think it's time. Feature creep. Creature feep. That sounds like some out of Doctor Who, doesn't it? The creature, the feep. Feature creep is what he was talking about, because he hadn't lost the plot at that point. He might have done afterwards, but at the time he hadn't. Anyway, off I go. And that was just like, it was the concept of the project never being completed, like the project never sort of becoming fully developed. Essentially because of the fact that you're constantly adding things, you're coming up with ideas and adding them, and eventually, you know, you're like, your whole mission, your whole plan for your development, for your software development, goes out the window, because suddenly you've missed all your milestones that you've set, because you've constantly been adding things in. What you have to have is like a project manager who's like, no, this is what we're doing. You can't add things in right now. We've got to get the product out the door. If you want to add all that stuff in, then you're going to have to do it at a later date. You have to patch it in at a later date as an update or something like that. You've got to get this product out the door. And it strikes me that if you are missing those targets, or if you don't have that oversight through no fault of their own, it's just because people always want to try to create as good a product as possible, what you start ending up having happen is the product just gets delinquent. The whole sort of like plan, the whole sort of your milestones, everything like that just goes out of the window. And I think that's what we're kind of looking at here with some of these teams. I think that has happened. Not all of them. Some of them, like I've already suggested, that wasn't an issue with Romero Games. So what I've talked about so far is sort of like not positive, but sort of things that have just happened because somebody hasn't put the brakes on stuff, or somebody hasn't been watching over the development cycle closely enough and keeping an eye on it, keeping it under control. And ultimately somebody's had to come in, or they kind of hit breaking point and had to pull the plug on a lot of these games. But then we get to the bit that I don't really like talking about and don't really like considering, and that is just simply the fact that you're dealing with sheer unadulterated corporate greed. If you make 10 billion and you can make 11 billion by laying people off, hey, let's make an extra billion, shall we, and lay people off. It means I can get my yacht 12 months quicker than I would have done before if I'd have just had to wait another year to make money next year. I can get my Ferrari and my yacht this year, but you're going to have to make a load of people redundant. Well, yeah, we'll just do it. We'll keep a skeleton crew, and we'll restructure and reorganize and deal with it accordingly. And hey, if at some point in the future down the line we need to hire more people to fulfill projects, then we'll do that. Yeah, but you're throwing all of these people on the scrap heap. Yeah, but my Ferrari, my yacht. It's naive to think that these people don't think that way, because they absolutely do. They absolutely do. It's a very sort of short-term attitude of make all the money now, forget tomorrow, forget the future. If I can make all the money now, if tomorrow catches fire, it's fine because I've already got my money. Somebody put on social media, actually made me stop and think for a moment, but I can't remember who it was, but they put out this thing on X where they said, you know what, some of these, it was in relation to these layoffs, that some of these investors and some of these CEOs are acting like there's a big fucking asteroid on its way that's going to wipe everybody out, and they literally are only interested in making all of the money now so they can spend it before it hits, or they can buy a seat on the rocket out of here, And you laugh because you think, yeah, okay, that's funny, and then you stop and think, actually that is kind of what would happen. I mean, I'm not saying that I think that is what's going to happen, but it's kind of weird, isn't it? Like, why is it that sort of long-term growth, which benefits everyone, is slower? You make your money slower, but there's more people benefit from it, and you generate a more stable environment by doing that at these places. Say, I'm not getting into global economics because first of all I don't know enough about it, but I do know a bit. I know I've worked in finance in companies, so I do know a bit about on a business level about growth and finance. If you try to make all of the money in a short period of time, you're compromising stability. You just are. Liken it to building a house, and you can, you know how long, like a builder will tell you, this is how long it takes to build the house, right? And then you go to the builder, I want it done in half the time and half the cost, so I can, so I can sell it and make more money. So they do that, but the house falls down. Like, yeah, they sell it, but the house falls down and your reputation is in the toilet. Yeah, you make a lot of money really quick, but no one will ever buy a house off you in future, because the house that you financed, built and sold is shit. Like, you cut corners. Now, yeah, you made a lot of money, so you think, well, it don't matter because I made a lot of money, but the thing is, if you'd have if you'd have done it so you made less money but built a better quality product, you would have made the same amount of money but over a longer period of time, but you would have made more money in the long run because people would come back to you. You'd have a better reputation. And that is the weird thing these days, is that part doesn't seem to matter anymore. You know, it's like people are jumping on board the AI bandwagon in businesses and all this, that and the other, and there's a price to pay. There's a price to pay for everything. That's just the way the world is. And the short-termism that they're showing, particularly in stuff like game development, where, you know, a rush game is just going to come out broken. And the attitude that a lot of gamers have to that kind of thing is to scorch the earth. And reputation, especially when you're talking about the video game industry and what gamers think, reputation is invaluable. Like, there are certain game developers can walk on water and do no wrong because in the past they've done a lot of things right. They've created a quality product. They build up a lot of goodwill. So when they do make missteps, they get forgiven. But eventually, or if you never build up that goodwill, or eventually you keep doing the same thing and you burn through that goodwill, it's really hard to get back. It's really hard to get back. And you know, once you've screwed up, you know, once you've made an absolute arse of it, like I just did at that corner there, like, people just don't forget. People don't forget. They hold it against you, no matter what you do. And that's the whole thing, like with Microsoft. It's like they've got so much bad press from this. I've watched so many people on YouTube, like gaming channels on YouTube, that talk about video games and so on and so forth. And they're not the type of channels that, you know, fanboyish, you know, that come out with, you know, overly dramatic stuff and all that kind of crap. You know, they're kind of well balanced, intelligent conversations, and none of them have actually spoke of defending Microsoft's decision. They've all said, look, this is bad. Like, we can't understand it. This company, you know, Phil Spencer kicks off his email or his notification, his letter to the people that were getting laid off by actually saying how well the company was doing, how well Microsoft has been doing. I mean, that's really tone deaf, by the way. Hey, we're doing really well. This isn't a reflection on your work, by the way, but you're fired. Wait, what? So if it's not because I'm rubbish at my job and I've still got fired, what the hell? Just imagine that. Well, what can you do? You know, like if you suck at your job and you lose your job, you kind of go, yeah, well, I kind of sucked at it, you know, and maybe I don't do that job in future, or, you know, maybe I try harder. You know, maybe I go and get training and become better. And you feel like you've got that sort of, that consolation, as it were, that it's nothing, you know, it's something that you did and you can fix it. But when it's like you think, well, I've worked my arse off and I'm being told that I've done a great job, but I'm fired. Where'd you go with that? Like, it's literally soul destroying, because it means that no matter, I mean, it destroys confidence, not necessarily in your own abilities, but confidence in being able to sort of like know that if you work hard, you'll be rewarded. That's always been the thing in life. It's the narrative that is spun to you from being a kid. You know, you're mentally conditioned for that in life. That is your mental conditioning. You work hard, you'll get rewarded. But now that's not the case. And that's kind of the foundation of a lot of our society. That if you work hard, you'll be rewarded. And that's not the case. You're being told, yeah, you work hard, you work well, you did brilliant, blah, 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 you're fired. Well, that's not a reward, is it? You know, I mean, just from a human level, where do these people go from that? Like, you see some of the tweets. I've seen some tweets that some of these developers, they say, you know, oh, you know, like I came in on Monday morning or whenever it was the announcement was made, and just got told I'd lost my job. You know, like the day before, like in some cases, like Phil Spencer had been to some of these companies only like a week or so before and was saying what a great job they were doing and all this, that and the other, and you probably felt like confident from that. I wonder if some of them thought, hey, we're doing a really good job. The guy, you know, who's in charge of all of this, you know, Phil Spencer is the head of Xbox. He said he's doing a brilliant job and I can't wait to play the game. I wonder if some of them actually went and made like major life changing financial decisions, like buying a house, you know, or a car or whatever, you know, kind of thing that you may be hesitant to do if you're thinking, oh, you know, maybe I'm gonna get, you know, maybe, you know, things that can be a bit frisky in the industry. But, you know, when the top guy says you're doing great and I can't wait to play the product, and you know, well, okay, the product's probably a couple of years away from completion. He's obviously wants to see this finished because he says he can't wait to play it, and he likes it so far and he's confident and all this, that and the other. Yeah, of course you're going to think to yourself, yeah, let me make some financial, you know, let me make decisions, because you feel comfortable and you feel confident. That, and then, you know, and then you just get told, you turn in, you know, and get told, yeah, by the way, we're cancelling the game and you're out of a job. I just can't imagine how utterly soul destroying that must be, because everything that you've been led to believe just turns out to be a lie. The whole mantra is, you know, if you work hard, you'll be rewarded. The whole mantra of that is absolute bullshit. It doesn't boil down to that. It literally is, if the key component they're missing there, if you're lucky, you'll be successful. If you're lucky. That's what it boils down to. But they will never tell you that. They'll never tell you that. And I just can't imagine how little morale some of these people must be feeling right now. Not all, some people probably, you know, maybe have been through it before, shrug it off, go, yeah, whatever, you know, I'll go do something else. Some that maybe have been in the industry a lot longer than others might have a bit more financial independence to start up their own indie studio or whatever, you know. But again, it's being good is not enough anymore. Like, working hard and being successful, I don't think the brakes on this car actually work. But yeah, like, it's not enough. You need to be lucky. Not everyone can be lucky. That is the nature of that phenomenon. There are people that are just unlucky. You know, wrong place at the wrong time, wrong game, wrong studio, you know. Look at some people that have made games that are probably not particularly great, but they've still sold well and they've become wealthy from it. Look, you know, the timing of getting a game out, there might have been 5 people working on a similar game, or 5 studios working on a similar game, but one studio got it out before everybody else just at the right time, and it was massively successful. And then there's another one that, you know, another example maybe of a studio that gets it out first and it's a really good game, but the market just wasn't ready for it at that time, and it falls on its arse. Look, you know, there's just too many variables, but nobody wants to tell you that. Nobody wants to tell you that you need luck. That is the most important ingredient. And I think that is the total example that all of this brings, is that just being good at what you do and working hard is just not enough. Those people were told that they were great at what they were doing. They were told that. They were told how good they were, and in that same email, they got put out the door. They got, you know, they just got put out the door like empty milk bottles. You know, it's how do you deal with that? You just gotta like shake yourself down. But I mean, all the while, you know, even if you like, even the lucky ones that perhaps just went from there, and you know, like probably maybe, you know, you would hope that within the community, the games industry itself, another studio might pick them up. But where's your confidence? Like, you think when you get to that point where, you know, you're putting in 18-hour days when it comes to like the release window for the game, and you just sat there and you're thinking, why am I going to do this? I'm not going to do this. Like, screw this. Yeah, I'm not gonna like risk my home life, you know, my social life, my home life, when it could still get cancelled and mean nothing. And you know, like, what happens is the quality of the product will start to suffer as people just don't care anymore. Like, there's so many games have come out from people who it's been like a labour of love, it's a passion project. You're destroying that passion. You're literally destroying that passion with these type of decisions. It's like, it's not just about money, is what I'm trying to say. There's a whole thing that goes with it. You know, these are creative people. You know, they're not, you know, a lot of what they do, it comes from the heart. It's a creative process, and it's a very hard, time-consuming thing. And you know, when it works, I mean, I always look at the example of the God of War game. You know, the guy that was in charge of that, you know, how emotional he was when that game came out and was massively successful. The reboot, the reboot, not Jaffe, the guy that did the reboot. I can't remember his name right now. Age again. You know, being senile. Yes. But yeah, like, how emotional he was, because he poured everything into it. He wasn't just being emotional because, yeah, it's been successful and I'll probably be rewarded for it. No, it was more than that. You know, when people that create things put games out there, there's a lot of anxiety, because it's brutal. Like, the people that review games, or you get gamers themselves, you know, can be just so dismissive. You put so much time into making something, and somebody goes along and just says, oh, that's shit, and that's it. They switch off. Oh, that's shit. And they, you know, like, they switch the game off, you know, uninstall it, or they toss the disc to one side, you know, and again, brakes just not working on this fucking car. You know, they just toss the disc to one side, you know, or trade it, and that's it. It's brutal. Like, somebody's might have put everything they had. They just, you know, might not have had the time to polish the game off, you know, in terms of, like, you know, making it better. They might not have had the time, whatever. And yeah, it's gone. Like, it's brutal. So when you release something and it's like universally praised and everybody's loving it, and the relief, I think there's probably like a huge emotional relief to that as well. You know, it's a human thing, and it just seems to me like it's all getting traded away. It's all getting sort of buried beneath statistics and, you know, return on investment. It's become like a, you know, like a corporate sausage factory almost, and that's at odds if we're going to sit here and say, yes, games are an artistically created thing, then your corporate way of running it is always going to be at odds. It's the issue you have with movies as well. You know, like the certain studios want it to be a sausage factory when it comes to movies, and it's just not how it works. You know, if you try to do that, you will have some success, but you're going to limit it. Like, you've got to, if we're going to say something is art, is the product of art, or is an artistic endeavour, then you have to support it that way. You have to support it that way. You can't treat the industry in the way, and treat people within the industry in the way that you are, because generationally speaking, you are going to suffer in the long run. You're going to suffer in the long run. You'll just get people that come into it, view it as nothing more than a job. The passion will go, you know, it'll be replaced by indifference, and the end product will suffer. The end product will suffer. And if you're going to go down the path of, well, that's fine, we'll just create games through AI, well, you're just going to get passionless, robotic facsimiles, because AI has no creativity whatsoever, independent of what it's told. You know, so if you're just going to turn it over for that, what do you think it's going to create? It's just going to create things within a parameter. There'd be no thinking outside the box like game developers do. The advantage that human beings will always have over AI is the human has the ability to think outside the box. AI doesn't. AI absolutely doesn't. It's big limiting factor. It only knows what it knows, and that's it. It has no capacity outside of that. I don't give a shit what anybody says or what they think it may or may not be capable of doing in the future. It's totally irrelevant. It's all it is capable of. And you know, like I say, to me, that is what we risk having happen. You know, whether if this is the result of studios thinking that they can replace people with AI, whether it's nothing to do with that whatsoever, I mean, I don't know. Like I say, I mean, the thrust of this video has been to sort of think about it, think about what's going on. You know, what is going on? Why is a company that is making a lot of money making these sort of brutal decisions when it comes to staff? There has to be a reason. It always comes down to money. But I think I've covered sort of like the various elements on why I think it doesn't stack up. If it's just, you know, let's make as much money as possible right now. Maybe that person on X was right. Maybe the asteroid is on its way. We just don't know it yet. You know, certainly would make more sense. Certainly would make sense. Because, you know, this isn't just video games. This isn't just video games. Like I say, I'm talking about it because it's what I know a little bit about through years of just being immersed in gaming. You know, as a gamer, I mean, I'm not saying I've ever worked personally in software development. I've known people who have. I've had, you know, people that have worked in the industry that have been in, you know, people that I've worked with. You know, I've worked with a guy who worked in the video game industry when I worked at the IT company I was talking about earlier. But, you know, the guy with the creature feet, you know, he was the one that told me about that, you know, and said this is what it is. you know. And he's right. He was enlightening. I mean, he was there. He was working on an internal database program. And you know, he's just in conversation when I was talking to him, and he was telling me about, you know, when he worked in the video game industry and what it was like, and that was back in the 90s. You know, Lord alone knows what it's like now. Dear God, I mean, it's probably a 1,000 times worse now. I mean, I'd say it's always been there, it's just worse. It's worse because there's more people in the industry, so consequently more people are affected by these type of things, and I think that there has to be just a greater degree of responsibility. You know, if you care about the longevity of this industry, you know, like if you want it to still be a thing, you've got to look after it, and you've got to look after the people that make it what it is. You have to do that. You can't be flippant. You can't just be like, I want to make all the money now, I want my Ferrari tomorrow, not next week, you know. That kind of attitude, it's just, you're going to kill it. You're going to kill it stone dead. Yeah, you know, eventually, like, people will not want to buy your product because it won't be very good. And I'm completely on the wrong tyres for this particular race, as was just illustrated there. What the hell? Oh, racing tyres. So I'm basically on slicks in the wet. Oh well, this is going to be hilarious. Yeah, I think it's a little bit over frisky, to be honest with you. I wouldn't have thought that a track... What are we doing, car? I wouldn't have thought a track would have got so undrivable that quickly. It doesn't in F1. It's normally like about 2 or 3 laps of rain before it becomes undrivable. How in the... By the way, I don't even know how you... I'm going to have to try and pay him. I'm not going to make it. He's probably as good a place as any to... Jesus H. Christ, I've literally got no grip at all. He's probably as good a place as any to stop the video, because this is an absolute shit show now, but... oh yeah, my car just doesn't even want to move. Yeah, I'll call it a day there. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. Like I say, it's just my vague, bullshitty ramblings. Yeah, just a gamer, an old-timey, old-school gamer. He's just concerned when he sees a lot of people in the industry losing their jobs, because I just don't think it's healthy. Anyway, I'll hopefully be back with something a bit more positive in my next one, but in the meantime, take care, enjoy your games and what have you, and I'll catch you all later.